I often say that the revolution never really ended, and that's how we were supposed to treat our Constitution, as if it never did. Because it seems to me that a lot of these banks are owned by the... Well, I don't want to get into all that. It would take up the entire show. It would be better just to have a guest on who could better explain that than me. When you deal with this stuff for a long time, it starts to become second nature. I've forgotten more than I've learned. I mean, it's so frustrating, and it's so... I know, all I can say is I know why Alex Jones tends to fly off the rail, and he gets mad, and he gets out of control, and this is why. Because you try to explain to people, and they fight you every step of the way, and instead of going and researching for themselves and then coming back and asking questions, and let's get off of this subject. So I talked to and one more thing, the Supreme Court is going to hear a case on who has the authority to detain and deport illegal immigrants. If the federal government wins, then you're going to have illegal immigrants pouring over the border. Plain and simple. Well, not so much now, because a lot of them are leaving because there's no work. The economy's so bad. But anyway, if the states win, then the states can continue rounding them up and doing what they're doing. And I don't understand what people don't understand about illegal. There's a lot of people who line up, pay money, give up everything they have, their whole life, to come here, to learn our language, to learn our culture, to learn our customs, to learn our laws, to learn our Declaration of Independence, our Bill of Rights, our Constitution. And they know more than most of you, believe it or not. And they're very proud of all the work they've done to achieve that. And this is what people don't understand. People don't understand the feeling of accomplishment. They don't understand what it's like to be oppressed. They don't understand what it's like to live under communism. A lot of these people do. But there's a right way and a wrong way to do it. I live here. I was born here. I was raised here. My parents, my grandparents, my great-grandparents, my great-great-grandparents, my great-great-great-grandparents, all from here. I can trace my lineage all the way back to the Mayflower. So why am I the one pressing 2 for English? I don't know. So, I guess my question tonight is, my big question is, why do Republicans want Obama reelected? I'm not talking about real conservative Republicans. I'm just talking about Republicans in general. The average citizen doesn't want Obama reelected, but the average citizen doesn't understand the whole process, the politics involved, Um, they they just don't understand the average person, and that's why you're here. You're here to learn, and you will learn a lot. As soon as I get this Skype, everything all worked out, and everything's running perfect, only then will I bring the big, knowledgeable guests on. Some of them I may have to pay if they're big enough. I don't know, and I can't do that without any donations. So, don't count on the big ones. Unless you're really willing to learn. So, let's look at who wants Obama to win, because Romney is exactly the same as Obama. Go and do the comparisons. Look at what Romney has said. Look at what Obama has done. They're both for war. They're both anti-gun. They're both, and I know Mitt Romney showed up at the NRA meeting. Whoop-de-doo. I could show up at a liberal party tomorrow and start talking communism if I want to get elected. I mean, you go to these events, and I told you about the Santorum event that I went to, and he talked a real good game. I mean, I was into every word, but in the back of my mind, I'm remembering all the votes that he made. In the back of my mind, I remembered him saying, I went along to get along. So, everything that he said didn't really mean anything. You see what I'm saying? Don't tell me. Show me. Okay, there are convicted murderers, rapists, child molesters that never did it. It wasn't until the DNA and everything came out that people were released through DNA testing because they didn't do it. A lot of people are wrongly convicted for things. So I don't give a damn what you do in your personal life, but when you've taken the oath of office, that oath of office is sacred. That oath of office should mean something. You should hold your chin up high and know that so many people are counting on you to speak for them. They're counting on you to protect that Constitution of ours. If you don't care, you just want to make money, hey, that's fine and dandy. If the people elect you, then, hey, what can I say? And that's why I'm reaching out to the people. You've got to do your research. And remember the 3 pillars if you want to remain free. You have a constitutional sheriff, constitutional judges, and constitutional commissioners. Plain and simple. And just because they're Republican doesn't mean they're constitutional. I've already told you about that. So, there was one more thing that I had wanted to talk about, and maybe it'll come back to me, but a friend of mine were talking today. I had posted the actual numbers for the delegates. I know it's not Beer Friday, but I'm exhausted. I had a decent workout, and I've been working hard all day, and now I'm working again, and I deserve one of these. So, we went over the actual delegate count. You all know Todd. Todd likes to argue with me every step of the way. Yeah, if Todd wants to come on tonight, I'm going to check my Skype after this, and I'll let Todd defend himself. But I did want to play something that I found. That was actually the best thing I could find. But before I play that, I want to read you some interesting facts. Because there is a somewhat quiet debate in this country on whether or not to get rid of the electoral process. Now, I would be willing to compromise. And I know I don't say that very often, but hear me out. I would be willing to get rid of the super delegates if we could just keep the regular electoral process. Because super delegates are people like Oprah Winfrey and, you know, just big stars. It's like being knighted. We will make you a super delegate. That's our way of knighting people. Get down on one knee, we get the sword out, we tap shoulder to shoulder. You are now a super delegate, or you are now part of the House of Lords. Now, I'm starting to see England all over again, and I thought we fought a war to get away from that, but unfortunately we have them. And for those of you out there who don't like the electoral process, you cannot have just, this is a republic, and you cannot just have the majority rule. Because as Franklin said, it's two wolves and a sheep deciding what's for dinner. The establishment has the biggest propaganda tool in the history of man. It's called the television. It's called the media. And admit it, you look to certain media for credibility. We all do. And those original media outlets are the credible media. So we look to them for credibility, and and you know, you notice reporters even telling the candidates, well, so and so said this, Forbes said this, or Wall Street Journal said this. Well, if the Wall Street Journal said it, it must be true, right? That's our thinking. What we don't know is they're all owned by a few people. Even your Real Clear Politics. Todd, I know that's a favorite of yours. I'm sorry, I don't mean to pick on Todd. But, you get your chance. Anyway. So that's what we look to. But it's been my experience. I've narrowed it down to a few. And I don't want to give away my sources because, you know, the next thing you know, these big companies are going to want to buy them out. Because, hey, look where he gets his news. If we buy them, kind of like last night we talked about Monsanto buying the research company for the bees. You know, they just buy up their competition. They don't give a damn. Money talks, guys. But we can win. And I talked about the delegates and how Ron Paul people are they've studied the delegate process. They know how it works. A lot of these guys have been elected to chairman in most places, most counties. Not most, but many, a lot. So, the Ron Paul people know what they're doing. If you watch the Rachel Maddow clip, and I'll post it to the website sometime soon. It's on my Facebook page. She was surprised to see that Ron Paul had taken the lead, and they won 20 delegates in Minnesota out of the 24. In this video, this guy, he doesn't like the electoral process. Okay, so right there he's biased already, and I'm just going to warn you ahead of time. But he does explain the delegate process exactly the way it works, and that's why I've chosen this video, because I am for the Electoral College without the superdelegates. This guy doesn't want it at all, but he explains it a lot better than I can. So I'm going to play this, and I'm going to maybe even open my mixer so that I can turn this down a little bit if it gets too loud. Okay? So, here it is. Listen carefully, take notes.
Hi everybody, welcome to the Frank Factor. This is going to be a spellbinding show. Yes. Because we're going to talk about delegates. What the hell are delegates and superdelegates? Can superdelegates fly through the air with the cape? The short answer is no. They are part of an archaic piece of shit that stands between us and our votes. Delegates basically serve the same purpose as electors in the Electoral College, which you can shove. That said, a delegate is, as its name implies, a person appointed or elected to represent others in a task or an assignment. Why you'd want that today, I'm not really sure. Our presidential primaries culminate in a delegate convention. Presidential candidates are named in these conventions, and they are composed of delegates chosen in part by state conventions and local party rules. In the end, the candidate with the greatest number of delegate votes wins the nomination. Now, the assignment of the apportionment of these delegates is determined by an array of individual formulas and practices. This makes a relatively short explanation like this just about useless. That said, let's think about this. What's probably not well known is that in neither the primary nor the general presidential elections does the popular vote directly determine the winner. In the primary, delegates are the go-between, and in the general election, electors are the go-between. There is a history as to the evolution of this system, but I'm not going to go to detail here about that. That'll really put you into a coma. Basically, delegates fall into two types, pledged and unpledged. Pledged delegates must vote for specific presidential candidates at the National Convention for at least the first ballot. After that, the rules change, but usually they are bound by the results of the state's presidential primary or by the preferences of those attending caucuses or the state convention. Aha! About 80% of the delegates to the Democratic Convention and 82% of the delegates to the Republican Convention will be pledged delegates. As to delegate representation of the public, there are two basic subtypes of pledged delegates, district level and at large. District level delegates are almost always associated with congressional districts. At large delegates are considered statewide delegates. For Democrats, district and at-large delegates are always pledged, and they are part of the state's base delegation. Also include a third type of unpledged delegate, or the superdelegate, composed of party leaders and elected officials. These are typically city mayors, legislative leaders, county party officials, etc., and they make up about 15% of all delegates. Superdelegates on the Democrat side include Barbara Boxer, Jimmy Carter, Bill Clinton, Howard Dean, Chris Dodd, Al Gore, and Superman. Republicans have less strict rules about the number and type of pledged delegates. Some state primaries treat all their pledged delegates as at-large, and some treat them all as district delegates, and some use both district and at-large designations. Republicans have not standardized how pledged delegates are allocated. Republican pledged delegates can be released by a withdrawn candidate depending upon state party rules. Unpledged delegates are, by definition, free agents who are not bound by the results of the state's primary caucuses or our bloody votes. They can vote for whomever they like at the National Convention. For Democrats, each state's number of unpledged delegates is based on the following criteria: the number of Democratic National Committee members from that state, the number of Democratic members of Congress from that state, whether that state has a Democratic governor, and that state's number of distinguished party leaders such as former presidents, vice presidents, former U.S. Senate leaders, or U.S. House speakers, and an add-on group of unpledged delegate spots based on that state's Democratic National Committee member votes. The GOP rules for unpledged delegates are much less standardized. Democrats made numerous efforts over the history of the delegate process to include minorities and women, and this is reflected somewhat in their more complex formulae. Unpledged delegates should not be confused with uncommitted delegates. If the presidential preference uncommitted did well enough in a primary or a convention, uncommitted is treated much like a presidential candidate. As bad as this mess sounds, only 3 times in our history has a candidate lost the popular national vote and been elected by electoral vote, and in both those cases the popular vote was extremely close. Basically, the system has worked pretty well, but our founding fathers' concerns with direct popular elections have mostly vanished. The national political parties have added to party familiarity and have been around for years. Travel and communications are no longer problems. We all have access to nearly every word spoken by every candidate, so those obstacles really no longer exist to any great extent. If it were up to me, no more delegates, no more electoral college, give me paper ballots and give me a receipt, and let's move on already. Thank you very much for watching and for your patience. I hope this helped somewhat. I can't see how it possibly has, but boy, there goes like 5 or 6 minutes of your life you'll never get back again. Anyway, thanks again. I really appreciate it.
So there you have it. And I don't know if you understood any of that, but I am going to post that on the website, www.citizenuprising.com. Now, some people say, why did you put a Z in Uprising? Well, first of all, that website wasn't available. I really wanted to capture what we were all about, and I thought it sounded pretty cool. So, that's that. Now, I wanted to get to something, and I didn't put my post-it note up on the computer like I usually do, so I got off track a little bit. I want to talk about the lesser of two evils and some interesting facts that came from one vote. People will tell you all the time, you're throwing your vote away. You're not throwing your vote away. Every vote counts. There are some people that have just given up, and maybe nationally your vote doesn't count, but locally I can tell you from personal experience that your vote absolutely does count. The local and state levels, I mean your districts, the people you elect to, the Congress, the state, your vote counts, guys, especially local. And so I want to kind of explain a little bit the importance of one vote. And this is just a few things that happened in history. Thomas Jefferson won by a vote. Hitler became the Nazi party leader by one vote. France became a republic by one vote. The Selective Service Act, the draft, was saved by one vote. The Texas Convention voted for Lyndon B. Johnson over Coke Stevens in a contested senatorial election. Let's see. Kennedy. An additional one vote per precinct in Illinois, Missouri, New Jersey, and Texas may have altered the course of America's modern history by denying John F. Kennedy the presidency and placing Richard Nixon in the White House 8 years early. Okay, so one vote counts, and you could take it from me, one vote does count locally. I am going to check the Skype and see if we have Todd. I'm sure he's beating his head against the wall right now, wanting to get on here and argue with me again. let me check and see if Todd wants to come on just for a little bit. I'm not going to be on too long. Hopefully I don't screw anything up here. Boy, this computer is really slow tonight. There he is. Let's call Todd and see if he's available to come on.
Yes, Robert.
Todd, how you doing?
Just been enjoying your show.
Thank you. You been banging your head over there waiting to get in?
Enjoying the insults, you know. I knew they were coming, so.
Oh, you had to have.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, it wasn't meant as an insult.
Well, you know, just, you know.
You'll be all right. You'll be all right. You're a big boy. Sticks and stones.
I know.
So, did you enjoy the little clip of the delegates? The delegate process?
Yeah, hold on. I was getting a little feedback. I had to shut your website down. Hopefully that's better. Yes, actually, it was very informative. And I love the way that whoever the gentleman is that was speaking on that described the difference between the delegate count versus for Democrats versus Republicans.
Right, and also in each state it's also different.
Correct.
And a lot of people don't know that.
Well, I knew it, but I didn't know it to, you know, quite the extent that he had kind of level, you know, mentality or whatever, that he kind of just threw it out there as.
Right, he put it simply.
Yeah, very simply, and it was kind of a breath of fresh air, a little refresher course for me. But I did call you out earlier today on the, you know, and I don't want to get off topic here, but
that's all right. Go ahead. That's why I wanted to get you on so you could have your shots at me. It's only fair.
The Ron Paul, you know, woohoo! Okay, you know, he's taking Iowa. You know, 20 delegates. All right. Well, you know, it takes 1144.
Yep, 1144.
Long way.
But here's the thing.
Oh, you'd have to take Texas. I was trying to do this mathematically. You have to take Texas, California, and I believe, if my math is correct, 7 or 8 other states to even come close. And even that's a long shot.
Well, I don't think it's over there, though. I still think, I'm pretty sure, now I'm not an expert because I haven't experienced anything like this. That's why I want to get somebody on who knows. I think Ron Paul can still, if he gets 5 states, be on the ballot at the convention for the first round.
Oh, you're talking a broker convention in Tampa.
Right.
If
now,
it leads to that.
Well, I don't think he's leaving the race this time. I think he's in it for the long haul. I know people were disappointed. I don't know if you recall back in 2008 when he decided not to go all the way, and people were very, very upset. But he didn't have a choice. You know, people were just getting into because most Ron Paul supporters, and the media is talking about this right now. They're saying how Obama and Romney are rounding up the young voters. Ron Paul already has the young voters.
True.
I mean, they follow him in droves, and they were just learning back in 2008 how the whole process works. But now they've become chairman. When the state chairman right after the Iowa vote, that chairman, if you watch the Mr. Maddow video, I call her Mr. Maddow, he, she, whatever.
Correct.
But that chairman resigned, and a Ron Paul guy won the chair. So they've come a long way, and I know Ron Paul. He's a very honest man. I don't know him personally, but I've watched everything he's done. I've followed all his votes. I've heard all of his speeches on the House floor. And everything he does just says honesty. I've never known him to be accused of doing anything dishonest. As a matter of fact, all of his colleagues and peers say that they've never met anybody like him. So I know that he doesn't want to let people down. But at the same time, he doesn't want to hurt the party. But this is his last shot. This is his last chance. I think he's going to go for it. That's my opinion.
And I concur. I think he's gonna be until the end.
Now here's what
he has enough money and backers to follow it through till the end.
Right. And here's the thing, though. But this is the scenario that I see playing out. I know that Obama's going to be hard to beat because, and only because, he gives people free stuff. That's what they want. They want free stuff. I want my Obama money. I want my college paid for. I don't want to work for anything. And Obama says, yes, we can. I'll give you this. I'll give you that. I'll give you the other thing. And that's why they're going to vote for him. Now, it's going to be really hard to beat only because of that. Everything else he does, nobody agrees with, even the people that want the free stuff. When Ron Paul comes in and says, look, I'll teach you to do this, that, and the other thing, and we will make it a better world, I think he could actually beat Obama. But if Romney gets the nomination, and this is the scenario I fear, if Romney gets the nomination and Obama beats Romney, then the GOP and the media are going to gang up on the Ron Paul people.
I disagree with you on that point.
You don't think that scenario will happen?
Well, I disagree with you about the media.
Because
Romney? Did you say Romney or Obama gets elected?
Yeah, if Obama gets reelected, Republicans are going to blame the Ron Paul people.
Well, of course.
If Romney's the nominee.
Yes.
So,
I do believe that. Yes.
Because the media and the establishment are afraid of people like us. Because we believe so much in our Constitution and integrity. They don't want us around. We are a threat.
Look at what happened with the Tea Party.
Well, they what they did was they co-opted the Tea Party.
No, they made him. They tried, and in my opinion, they miserably failed at it. But they tried to portray the Tea Partiers as this, violent crowd of lunatic people,
Right, at first they did. But then they said, then they saw how big their numbers were. And then they said, if we can't beat them, Let's take this thing over.
Yeah, but yet when the Occupy movement, the Occupy Wall Street movement, waltzed in, the media blessed it, and it's all you saw on any of the MSN.
Well, they blessed it for about a month, and then they saw that those people weren't going to leave, and then they stopped covering it and sent the police in there to bash them up a little bit.
But I saw a lot of videos with a lot of Ron Paul signs at those Occupy.
Oh yeah, and those are the liberals who voted for Obama the last time, who will come over to the Republican side to vote for Ron Paul. But they're not going to vote for Romney.
That's where you and I have, in fact, I think about the only disagreement is that I don't, and you could totally disagree with me, and I know you do. I don't think Ron Paul has a chance in heck of winning the Republican nomination for various reasons that you laid out early on in your show.
Right.
Of tonight's show.
Right.
You kind of put that all on the table.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing that irritates me is that we're all Republicans, so shouldn't we just go be behind the guy that is the Republican nominee? Love him or hate him, he brought up the lesser of two evils thing, which I believe we discussed last night and also on the internet today. But either way, as Republicans, it's, I'm sorry, I'm just anybody but Obama. I'm just, if that's wrong, well then shoot me, But
all right,
that's my opinion.
Since you brought that up, let me ask you this. And I've been thinking about this since you and I had that discussion the other night about the lesser of two evils. So let's say that Hitler, Satan, Foghorn, Leghorn, and Ron Paul were candidates, and Hitler and Satan were way ahead in the polls. Are you going to vote for Hitler in an effort to keep Satan from getting elected? If you do that, then Hitler wins. What?
Are you talking primaries?
I'm talking about the whole thing.
Well, primaries in general are totally different. You only have two candidates in the general.
Right, but Romney would be in this scenario. I'm not comparing Romney to Hitler. This is just a scenario. In my scenario, Romney is Hitler and Obama is Satan. Okay?
Okay.
And so they're going head to head. So Romney's ahead in the polls. And he's going to go up against Satan. And then you got Ron Paul, right? So you're going to vote for Hitler in an effort to keep Satan from getting elected. But then you'd be partially responsible for all the death and destruction after another world war, right? I mean, isn't that what he wants to do? If we go into Iran,
no, because Hitler,
we're going to have another world war.
Hitler committed suicide, so okay.
I understand. This is just a scenario. I'm just putting it out there. You're talking about the lesser of two evils, but a vote for the lesser of two evils is still a vote for evil.
And I will agree with that to a point. But the you posted or you played the clip about the electoral college and the uh, delegate count, and I found it interesting. Even though I knew 90% of it, it kind of refreshed, my memory about a bunch of things. And it's just that's politics. I mean, that is politics.
It is politics, but we don't see what goes on behind the scenes. We didn't see all the shenanigans being played out, and I'm not blaming I'm not blaming Romney for it, but there are what's the word I'm looking for?
Well, what you had mentioned in your, and I wish I would have written this down. I was trying to take notes, but then I got sidetracked. But you, in your earlier comments, because I was just sitting back listening,
you knew I was going to say something, didn't you?
Oh, I wanted to so bad, but I'm like, oh no, I'm going to let him, just talk and talk,
You're right.
It's his show, so I just I wanted to write it down, but I didn't, and now and then with my age, my brain just can't recall.
I understand.
But you had mentioned something about
you know what? Hey, hold that thought. Think about it for about 5 minutes. I'm gonna find a song to play. Let's see, what could I play? Oh, okay, I'm gonna play a good song. I'm gonna grab a beer real quick, and I'm only gonna play like 5 minutes of it for people at home, so it's not gonna be long.
Fantastic. Gives me a chance.
Now, before I play it, it's a moonshining song. You could appreciate this. Here we go. I'll be right back. And school me a little bit. In the meantime, you may be watching the primaries that are going on tonight, and we'll get the results of those. Romney is not going to get the 1,144 delegates needed tonight. That's for sure. They're predicting he may only have 800 something after tonight. So, if there's any Ron Paul fans out there listening, we are definitely still in the race. And we're going to get the delegates, because I don't think people want to make the mistake of holding their nose and voting for another John McCain. Romney is not a conservative Republican. He's very moderate. Now, I don't think he's a liberal, but he is an establishment member. He is a well-known businessman. I don't think he minds making a deal with the devil if it means success. And we know who Ron Paul is. We know he's probably the most honest man in politics, aside from Justin Amash. So, and if you don't know who Justin Amash is, just look him up. He's a congressman out of Michigan. And on his Facebook page, he explains in detail every vote he makes. So that's something to check out. And I think I hear Todd. Are you there? Todd, are you there? Calling Todd. Are you there? Anyway, you check out Justin Amash's Facebook page, and you'll see he's a man after Ron Paul's own heart, and he deserves recognition. But more importantly, it all starts with you. It starts with you being educated, and that's the reason I started this show. I want to educate you how to get involved. Most of these, you start out at the precinct committeeman level, and most of you are not precinct committeemen. I know because I don't see you at the meetings. But those of you that are know what I'm talking about. That's your foot in the door, the way you get involved. It doesn't take much. Show up to the meetings, give your opinion, give your input, get behind the good candidates. You don't have to get behind bad candidates. You don't have to phone bank for bad candidates if you don't want to. That's your right. And this whole business about, well, we're one party, we got to all stick together. I'm not going to up all my principles. I'm just not going to do it. I'm a very principled man. I'm not going to give it up. So you give me a constitutional candidate, and I'll give you my vote and my full support. Otherwise, you can shove it where the sun don't shine. That's the way I feel about it. Todd, are you there? Todd is not back yet. Hopefully we didn't lose Todd, or his wife didn't pull him in the closet. Anyway, we're going to have a little brief discussion with Todd. And then we're probably going to call it a night. I got things to do. I got to update the website. And let me see. Make a quick news if there's any late breaking news. Mitt asks, are you better off? You know, asking that question is the dumbest thing you could ever ask, because it doesn't matter who the president was. This president inherited a lot of crap, and it depended on who you got in there, and you got the wrong guy in there, and that's why we're further into the crap. If we'd have had a guy like Ron Paul, he'd have said no. He wouldn't let any of that money from the bailouts go. He'd have said, forget it. Todd, are you there? Ron? Are you there, Todd?
I am now.
All right. Yep.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I had to step out for a minute.
That's all right. I'm starting to get that feedback again. I think we're going to have to end this pretty soon.
Okay, I'm sorry, I missed your... I was outside, so.
I'll play it again sometime.
Okay. My wife just ran in and said, ran outside and said, he's talking about you or something, and so I'm like, well, what's he saying? She's like, I don't know, he's yelling for you or something. Because she's watching, Hallmark Channel or some, I don't know, whatever chicks watch.
So, am I getting that feedback from you then?
I have none on my end.
Okay.
I haven't changed anything.
But the show is not up on your end?
No, it's not.
Okay. All right, so did you think about...
The only thing I have open is Skype, Facebook, and that's it.
Did you think about what you were going to say?
No. I did have a moment when I was outside smoking my cancer stick.
Did you have a come to Jesus moment?
I have those all the time. But
okay. Just making sure.
I'm sorry?
I'm just making sure.
Oh, okay. I do. I have those quite often. And no, I was outside having a cancer stick.
Oh, great.
Because I smoke. And the comment that you made about... Oh, well, first of all, I wanted to say that I totally agree with you and the Ron Paul supporters that you're doing a very good job at educating people about the Constitution. Lost.
Right.
Under Obama especially.
Right.
And it's gotten ridiculous when, I think we touched on this last night or maybe the night before, that, people can name, like Jay Leno, when he does that thing on the street and he'll show a picture of Thomas Jefferson or, somebody.
Mm-hmm.
One of the U.S. presidents. And then they can't name anybody.
Right.
But yet they can name every person on the cast of Jersey Shore or American Idol or,
You're right.
And that's very sad. And I don't have children myself, but I have nieces and nephews, many of them. And it's extremely sad to see these are going to be the next kids that are going to be presidents someday.
And that's the plan. We've almost been through the 10 planks of the Communist Manifesto.
Yes, I'll give it about 6 out of 10.
Yep.
What would you rate it?
I'm right there, but I do see more. But that's why this election is so important. It's so important that we don't just hold our noses again.
Well, okay, that brings up the throwing your vote away comment, that where you brought up the devil versus Hitler.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I would rather vote
for Hitler.
For Hitler, yes, rather than the devil.
Even though Ron Paul's in there.
But he doesn't have a chance.
Well, people have been saying that since 2008. Now, in 2009,
you're trying to convert me. You're not going.
No. I'm trying to explain for those who say that he can't win, and I'm getting really tired of this feedback. Anyway, in 2009, he had a chance because we didn't even start the primaries yet. But back then, they were saying he didn't have a chance. Well, Why not? Is my question. If the Tea Party people believe in the Constitution like they say they do, why not elect a constitutional candidate? Because they've been told over and over and over again, and even Hitler said this, if you tell a lie enough, it becomes true. Am I right?
I'm not sure if that's a quote from Hitler.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Hitler even said also, and this has to do with all the bureaucracies that we have, if you get the women, you get the children, so follow the men.
Yes.
And by God, they've got the women, and they've got the children. Now all they need is us.
But there's a difference between, 1940.
Yeah, there's a big difference. We got more technology now.
Well, yes, that is a huge difference.
It's hugely bad.
And also, we are an armed nation, which Germany was, but Hitler, being the dictator that he was, disarmed Germany.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that could ever happen in the U.S.
Well, I got news for you, Todd. Today, there's a bill. Well, it's not being voted on today. But there's a bill in the House right now. And there's a part in that bill that says the IRS can't.
I read that. But it's been shelved, and correct me if I'm wrong, by the House.
Okay.
Republican control. This is the latest I read, which was about 4-5 hours ago.
And you know what happened to me? Somebody can go to your courthouse, make up some BS about you, and they take your guns.
Yes.
Just by somebody accusing you.
You're on the same page I am.
So
I'm working on a security camera videotape that from a friend of mine. I installed a security camera system at his house with a DVR, and he's a Iraq veteran. I will not bring up his name.
No.
He's a fireman, and then he was training to go into the police force when he got called over to Iraq. And so he came home with some neurological damage. Let's just leave it at that.
Okay.
Some issues, and the police. He had some girlfriend issues. She called the police because he's a hunter. He's got rifles, hunting rifles with scopes and whatnot in his house. And he needs me to offload that off his DVR because 7 police cruisers stormed his house. With
AR-15s.
Yes.
I know the feeling.
Cocked and loaded. They were ready to,
He's lucky he wasn't shot.
Well, yeah, but he is in the video. He is barefoot. He's wearing boxer shorts and no shirt on. Just like what, and being that he was a police officer, so to speak. He knew his rights, but yet this heavy set cop, you know, I mean, they cuffed him on his deck, and this is all, I have this all on his videotape, and he, you know, was slammed down to the ground, and then this, you know, I don't want to insult overweight people by any stretch, because
Fat ass.
I could lose a few pounds myself, but
No, I'm just kidding.
no, okay, you said it, I didn't. Is just sitting on it. Meanwhile, they're going in this house with their
Illegal search and seizure.
yeah, and they took his guns and everything, and then he didn't. He was unarmed. I mean, he had out, you know, basically no clothes on. You know, he just gotten out of bed, and it was just. It's very disturbing watching that video of how the police treated him. And there were 7 police officers. I have a 30-minute clip from his DVR.
Wow.
And 30 minutes of them going in and out of the house. They broke his screen door off the hinges because the one officer would put the stopper on the spring door or screen door. I'm sorry. You know, to keep it from shutting. And another one would try to shut it, and the thing eventually just fell off. And they come walking out of the house with his gun. Well, that was no big deal because he ended up getting. He did not get charged with any. And they confiscated his weapons, but then he had to go down and pay all these fees to retrieve his hunting rifles.
Right.
I mean,
yeah, it's extortion.
Tell me government, is not wrong on that level. And this is at a local level,
Well, a lot of the local police departments are now trained by Homeland Security. They get money from the federal government. They give them training. And if you have an unconstitutional sheriff, they condone it. And they're allowed to do these types of things. There's plenty of reports that'll say that they go into the wrong houses and kill people. And they get off scot-free. Because if you want to file charges, you have to go to the city. And the city has to approve, they have to okay it for you to file charges. And if they don't okay it, then you got to go to the state. And a lot of people don't have that kind of money. It costs a lot of money to fight the government. And that's what they're counting on.
Exactly. And that's what he's trying to do.
And I would warn your friend that he's having neurological problems and he's a gun owner. Do not go to a psychologist. Because that's another way they can take your guns.
That's a totally different topic for another day. Because
right, but I'm saying, if you're in a conversation, mention it to them. They're finding all ways to take our guns, and they will take our guns because they want us unarmed so that they can bring their tyranny. That's why this election's so important. Romney is against guns. Obama's against guns.
No, Romney was against guns.
No,
if you think he's going to appeal,
a zebra doesn't lose its stripes.
Back to my lesser of two evils. Obama is trying to strip us of our guns.
Yeah, but Obama did it covertly. Obama, they did the Fast and Furious. They were.
Yeah. Why isn't Eric Holder not in prison?
Because he is the Attorney General.
Well,
and also because the Republicans don't have a backbone to say anything because the same thing was happening under Bush.
no, not necessarily.
Oh yeah. It was going on. You just didn't hear about it. The only reason we heard about Fast and Furious is because Larry Pratt, the guy who runs Gun Owners of America, went on national television, and I'll put that clip up there too. And he started talking about Fast and Furious, and a lady tried to cut him off. And if you know Larry Pratt, he doesn't take any crap. And he just kept going and going and going, and it all came out. And they had to do something. They couldn't just say, well, let's pretend that never happened. And if you know these congressmen and these politicians, they're all pretty much full of crap. And when you see one get busted for something, you can bet all of them were doing it. But this one particular person just wouldn't go along.
Whoa. Everybody but Ron Paul.
Ron Paul's golden, man. I'm telling you.
Now, no man is perfect.
Show me a better one.
You're talking to one.
Are you a congressman? Are you
No.
a politician?
No, I'm not.
This guy's been married for over 55 years to the same woman. When he was practicing medicine, well, he was a flight surgeon. Do you know he's the only veteran running too?
Yes, I do know that. This time.
Okay, and he was a flight surgeon. He was a OBGYN. He helped volunteer for churches, which we're starting to see more of that today, a little more. He never
look at what Bob Dole or John McCain has done for our country.
Really. John McCain.
Being a POW.
Oh, okay, I'll give him that, but that's all I'm giving him.
Which one? I mean, Dole.
Being a prisoner of war, but that doesn't make him a good politician.
No, I'm not saying a good politician. I'm just saying he did serve for our country.
Right, and he did what he was trained to do.
They both did.
Right. I give him that.
The media blasted Bob Dole. The media blasted McCain. Now, McCain was, he was more like Romney.
Right. Still is.
Yes, but not as, there's a center mark. And I guess your center mark and my center mark are totally different. Like looking at a compass.
Well, you know the reason for that, don't you? I've seen too much crap, and I don't want to go through any more. We've gone so far to the left that it's going to take somebody extremely right to get us just back to the center.
And I agree with that. But it's not going to happen this election time. It's going to,
See, I don't give up so easily.
No, it's just the way things work, unfortunately.
But it doesn't have to work like that, Todd. I know what you're saying, but it doesn't have to work like that.
It's going to be Romney versus Obama.
Well, I won't be in it then. I can't do it. I can't.
Well, that's what I was kind of on the internet with you earlier today about. Then that is giving Obama 4 more years.
Well, if the Republicans don't get on, I could say the same thing. I could say if Republicans don't get on board with Ron Paul, then it's giving Obama the vote. You see what I'm saying? I could say the exact same thing. We know there were shenanigans going on. We know the Romney supporters in those states tipped the tables. There's proof.
No.
There's plenty of proof out there.
Conspiracies.
It's not a conspiracy. It's a fact.
Shenanigans, I'll give you, but that happens in every election. How do you think Obama?
But those people should be arrested for that. If you remember in Missouri, they closed the caucuses without 2/3 of the vote.
Yes.
So those people outside of the school had every right to reconvene. And these guys that left and closed down the caucuses had the police go in there and arrest this guy, and the police didn't even know what they were arresting him for. He didn't do anything. Then they tried to charge him with trespassing. I mean, things like that.
Who instigated that?
No one instigated it. Oh, Romney and Paul supporters. It was both. Romney and Paul supporters, they were pissed off because they were tipping the table towards Santorum.
You really believe that?
It's the truth. It's all on video.
I've seen different videos, and I've seen different perspectives.
You've heard different perspectives, but the video speaks for itself. See, if you watch the video, you're not getting any kind of perspective. I mean, it's right there spelled out.
Maybe I took it a little differently then. All right.
Well, it's always. I mean, if you have a good speaker like O'Reilly or Sean Hannity or something like that, they can always say something to change your mind, and it the same way works with the Democrats. They can always come up with a good point to change your opinion.
O'Reilly is.
He's a douche.
That's not a. He's not. He's a commentator.
He's a fruitcake.
That's not hard news, you know.
Yeah, right. I know.
Hannity is a commentator as well, and I got to meet Sean Hannity in person.
Yeah,
and he's one of the nicest, most down to earth, most intelligent people.
The same guy. That's the same guy that said when Ron Paul won the straw poll that he didn't win.
I don't know what quote you're talking about.
Yeah, they had a poll, an online poll, after the debate, and Ron Paul won overwhelmingly. And he says, "Ron Paul did not win. They're rigging the online polls or something like that." And after that, Ron Paul people saw him walking into the Fox studios, and they started throwing snowballs at him. And I don't know if you saw a show this year during the primaries when Hannity had Ron Paul on. He says, "Your supporters aren't outside with snowballs, are they?" That was classic.
No, and I try to. That'd be a good clip to watch because he's a genuine, very right-wing conservative,
He's also
constitutional person.
But you got to remember, these people that work for these news agencies, they've also got a job. If they don't do their job, if they don't cave into the pressure that their bosses are putting on them, they lose their job, like Judge Napolitano did.
Judge Napolitano?
He was a federal judge. I would say that qualifies him to commentate politics. Wouldn't you?
I don't know. I'm on the fence with that one. I liked him as a as a guest correspondent for a short period of time, and then I started seeing through a lot of the BS that he was throwing out.
He was a Ron Paul fan.
Well, and that's the conspiracy.
But the thing is, he didn't hide it.
Okay, I'll give you that.
So some of these people, we know where they stand.
He got fired just because.
Well, no, not because he was a Ron Paul fan. He got fired because he exposed a lot of stuff. He exposed the whole Israel thing. He exposed, go back and if
Libya,
you can stand
Egypt,
it,
there's
he
numerous.
exposed a lot of stuff. that and sometimes he went too far, and I'm sure he was warned, and I'm sure we'll hear it someday. I'm sure he had to sign something.
Yes, I'll give you that as well.
And Glenn Beck, he left because I'm sure he left because he couldn't take it anymore. He wasn't allowed to say what he wanted to say.
Actually, I know a little bit more of the inside story of that. Fox wanted him gone because he was getting too libertarian for them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like I said, I don't sit here and hawk around Fox News, you know, like people would think. But, a little off topic, but just, you know, a friend of mine, Freddie, who is on Facebook, friend of yours, friend of mine. I know him personally because I'm in a motorcycle club, and he's very active in politics. Huge Ron Paul supporter. He does everything except for he doesn't have the technology you do to be able to host a webcast. But he wishes he could, you know.
Right.
But he's involved with politicians, everybody. He is the go-to guy that I ask for anything.
Well, I'd like to have him on the show.
Yeah, I was trying to get a hold of him today to sit, but I don't think he has. Well, you have to download Skype,
Right.
and I'm not sure his computer has a microphone.
Well, tell them to run out. They cost about $10.
Yeah, for a cheapy one.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
You know, but yeah, I want you. Do you have Skype group?
I do not.
Because only one person can call in.
Right.
Unless you have group.
Well, you guys can take turns. No, I'd like to have him. I'd like you to talk to him and ask him what subject.
You guys would just kick my behind.
Yeah, we can't do that unfairly.
But I'd just sit back and listen because I'm open-minded.
No, I'm not gonna, Todd. I'm not gonna talk about you without you being able to come on and defend yourself. And you know I'm messing with you anyway.
Right. But I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to defend myself.
Yeah, it's always good to have a different view.
I'm open-minded. I just have my own personal opinions, and I have the two most staunch, politically active Ron Paul supporters that I know are you and Freddie. and he posts stuff all day long, you know, and
drives you nuts, don't it?
Well, yeah, I know you get his stuff all day long too. Well, but I mean, it's all in good fun. I mean, I don't, you know, I take everything. I'm not an evil, mean person. I'm not. Oh man, that SOB ticked me off, and I'm never gonna, you know, talk to him again. I'm gonna block him from whatever and do what. No, you know, it's like everyone's entitled to their own opinion. You've got your own program, and
well, hey,
I appreciate the hard work that the Ron Paul supporters have done to educate mainly these idiotic, and I'm going to get blasted for saying that word, kids, for not understanding history at all. You know, they just, you know.
Well, you know what's making a comeback, and Todd, hold that thought. Let's do this tomorrow. Try, if you can, to get some big news topics that you want to discuss. Do some homework. And come attack me tomorrow night. I'm getting a glare. And it is time for bed.
I got you there, brother, but I don't know about the hard homework study thing, teacher.
Alright.
Because I had $1,000 roof blown off my carport, and I just got the estimate today, and it's like, oh, well, where's the Obama stimulus money for that?
Well, the people downtown are getting it.
Yeah.
Alright. Well, we're going to end it here. And we'll see you guys tomorrow at the same time. Thanks, Todd.
No problem. You have a good evening.
Night. Night, everyone.